In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. The Holy Gospel read to us today from the Evangel, from the Gospel of St. John, once again calls to our attention the very important fact that in the Holy Eucharist and various other sacraments that the Lord has left for us behind Him, He has given us a mystery, that we are not dealing with mere human actions, even though those who seemingly perform them outwardly are human, but that these are divine actions. The word mystery, by the way, mysterion in Greek, is derived from the Greek term of the mystes, namely those who veil their eyes from the external world. And so what is meant here, in accordance with the mysteries of the pre-Christian era, that we develop our vision inward. And that vision is not necessarily an ocular vision, but it is the vision of the soul. So we must realize that what we receive at the altar here, especially in Holy Communion, is a key to the inward mystery. And the Lord has bestowed this on us, and the words that we have here in the Gospel actually are the last sentence are the very words that are used in the ordination of a priest. Whosoever cites sins ye remit, they are remitted unto them. And whosoever sins ye retain, they are retained. By sin, which no doubt has many different theological meanings, we have the fact that we are imperfect, and that if our imperfections did not stand in the way of communing openly and gloriously with the divinity, then we would receive them always. But that there are special actions which at least temporarily remove all obstacles that are within us, obstacles that stand in the way of communing with the divinity, and thereby elevating us into the class of the blessed who are able, at least at that particular time, to be in close contact with the divinity. Now, unless the thought should cross your mind that these are, self-serving ecclesiastical rules, I assure you that they are not. The miraculous phenomena connected with the Blessed Sacrament, that is with the consecrated host and the consecrated wine, are many, and those of us who have been in the priesthood for a long time have experienced them over and over again. So certainly to me there is no doubt whatsoever that there is some titanic titanic power, a transcendental power that enters the sacred host at the Eucharist and also the sacred wine at the Eucharist. If you study world religions throughout history, you will find that the communing with a solid and a liquid substance and in joining it to a divinity is very ancient and very present. You find it in Greece, and you particularly find it in ancient Egypt, where the sacred bread consecrated to Osiris, who really corresponds in terms of meaning to the Savior, where Osiris takes hold of the sacred bread and then distributes it to others. And curiously, but maybe not fortuitously, you know what the name of that bread? It's made. I think it was made of rice flour, because that's what they grew there. The body of Osiris administered in communion. The name for it, as you are able to translate it from ancient Egyptian, is the karst. Karst. Doesn't that sound a little bit like Christ? Oh, yes, it does. So you see, the true mysteries have never gone out of the world. People come and go, new religions come and go, and uncomprehending people get hold of the temples in various places. But the intentionality of the divinity to come to us and to nourish us with its transcendental substance and thereby increase its presence within us, it has always been in the world and was valid in the past and is certainly valid in the present and in the future. And so what does let's say, the Holy Communion remind us of? What it reminds me of primarily is that, look, the embodiment of the Godhead enters our bodies, but you know, it has always been here, sort of asleep. And the more we nourish it with its own substance, the more it will grow within us, and the more we will grow into the fullness of the stature of Christ, as that expression had it. So there is a great mystery here. Now I know that it's a mystery. Well, how come I don't see big explosions of lights, although some of us sometimes do at the altar. In fact, if you're a priest and sensitive to those things, it can be distracting. It can. So you really have to be there and stick to your sacred guns, as it were, in order not to be overwhelmed by the mystery. And sometimes you may not even be taking communion, although when possible that is always advised, but you're just a few feet away from the altar, and in some fashion, visually, audibly, somehow when the higher senses kick in, then you are experiencing in a tangible form the mystery. I heard a story from a late friend of mine who was a Viennese Austrian, theosophist and worker in the liberal Catholic Church there, and he was there once at the. They had a building in outside of Vienna, which was called the Theosophenheim, which means the home of the Theosophists, and it had its own chapel. And when Bishop Leadbeater came to town, of course, they notified the people there and what to do to receive him. And some of the interesting things that occurred one was that you get a nice strong white wine. That's what they told the local priest. He says, wine? He says, we don't drink any alcohol. He said, Bishop Leadbeater uses real wine. And whether you do or not, that's your business. But we want the wine. So it shows you how distorted really the injunctions and the messages are so often. In any event, then the additional case was that the wine was there, the host was there, and there were several people who got very shook up, probably because here is the founder of the church, of that church, and the celebrant bishop of the mass, and then in the end he told them, no, I think it was Bishop Wedgwood was present also, James Wedgwood, and James Wedgwood said, you are what so many of you are doing, you are projecting the thought form of the Eucharist as depicted in the science of the sacraments. So what you are seeing is the production of your own mind. So you have to be careful, make your mind receptive to the mystery, because while we all are magicians and we all are capable of producing mysteries, we'd rather prefer the divine mystery to experience rather than just our own. And so that's kind of really, and subsequently, I think Bishop Wedgwood was asked, how he came up with that conclusion. He said, how did I come up with the conclusion? The thought forms, colorful, that are present in the pictures of the science of the sacraments were floating above your heads in the pews. So obviously you were producing and reproducing them, and so try to strive for immediacy and the mystery when you are there, because here is something that you should not copy from pre-existing imagery, but that you should be able and capable of producing yourself. So look for that. So that was a sort of a calm down for a lot of the good Viennese, and they probably just went home and said, oh, well, that English bishop, he always has something interesting to say, as they were going toward their Viennese Turkish coffee, and maybe in some cases even their Wiener Schnitzel, because to turn a Viennese into a real vegetarian, I tell you, that's a bigger miracle than any theosophist has accomplished that I know of. So, that there are certain things that go with being a Viennese, and that is one of them. So in any event, this gentleman who lived here in Los Angeles became sort of a friend of mine a friend of mine who was responsible for more episodes or events which kept me from sleeping, because every night when I was in town at midnight, he called me on the telephone. And I said, well, Larry, if anybody else did this to me, I wouldn't answer. But I know it's you, so we did. A very, very interesting and very bright man who was, as a very young man, he became a theosophist, I think, as a teenager, and then subsequently he had good connections in Austrian political circles, and before what he was really, he was the state. He was a state secretary, which is a pretty big job in the Austrian government. Then came the Nazis, and he had to escape through Switzerland from Austria and things of that sort. But a very, very bright and very learned and very interesting man. So let us say these things need to be kept in mind. Yes, we are dealing with a mystery, but that should not put us into the category of mystery mongering, of mystery mongers. We should realize that there is something other than or encountered in ordinary life, something that actually is capable of revealing to us the divinity and elevating our consciousness, and by keeping that in mind, then we can take communion. So, and of course, in addition to that, if you were prepared to sit here all day today, which you are not, neither am I. So you would realize that there are really outright miraculous things that happen with considerable frequency at the Eucharist. And it's not that this particular priest is clairvoyant, so he can see the shining host, and here I am not clairvoyant, and I can only see a white circle, things like that. But it is that if you are receptive, if you realize that you're approaching a mystery in one way or the other, visibly, audibly, tangentially, the mystery will reveal itself to you. And the mystery is that the Lord wasn't just whistling Dixie when he said that this is my body and this is my blood, but that something very transcendental, very mystical, very unusual and very important was taking place, and that those who repeat this sacred action are similarly participating in the mystery. Now, it is my policy not to say too many things that would appear as bragging. Let's put it that. That's a good word for it. And therefore, I am not going to tell you some of what I consider to be absolutely miraculous things that in my long years of the priesthood I have experienced. So sometimes the power of the mystery becomes such that it overpowers the physical senses, and then you see beyond it. And I just got to the point where I just bowed my head and said, well, thank you for another sign. So there are all, and of course, having lived in a monastic setting and various things like that, where we had some very genuine mystics. There are strange strange supernatural things would happen. Because when the mystery comes to earth, then it causes certain changes in the atmosphere of the earth. One of them being that a great many very devout and very saintly people have risen up into the air and flown over, or sometimes over very large distances, as there's wonderful recently published and publicized books which says they flew indicate. So now I'm not telling you that if you are a priest and you're there at the altar that you're going to fly, because that might be a little bit shocking to the rest of us, in addition to yourself, But that when the supernatural enters the natural, which is what the mystery does, then all kinds of things can happen. And we should be there, profiting thereby, enjoying it, and taking it also as a proof that we are indeed among the mystics, those who veil their eyes to the inconsequential and unnecessary outer world, and who see with other eyes. And I'm not just talking about ordinary clairvoyance and psychism, because actually probably the most impressive visionary experiences that I have noticed with some people were to the effect that they were, for the time being, they were changed. They were changed into a condition where they could perceive certain mystical things contrary to at other times. And so the very ability that all of a sudden you see a miracle indicates that you had the capacity to see miracles in you already, and that what has been happening has released your capacity to deal with the miraculous. So I don't want to go into too many details, but let us say it's important for us to remember that indeed the Lord Christ left with us a mystery. And those are very extroverted expressions that, this is my body, this is my blood. But they mean, this is my substance. I give you something from myself. I give you something not only that the Lord has access to, but He gives us something that He is, His very substance. And the metaphor for that is, this is my body, or this is my blood. Only in a mythical Transylvania would you have real blood on the altar. But in other words, what makes up a human being who meet? What you notice about somebody are usually two things: what he or she looks like on the one hand, and on the other, what internal power, and particularly is the symbol for emotional energy, there is in the person. And that is symbolic of the body and of the blood. So what generally constitutes the divine in his embodiment, in this case of Jesus Christ, that is the mystery. And also don't be fearful that let's say you didn't experience that mystery in that fashion, because whether you perceive it or not, whether you respond to it with the senses or not, it is there. And then it's sort of your job to discern it and say, yes, there's something here, something happening. So it is not a proof that you are not perceptive enough, but it is a proof that you didn't bring your inner perception into outward manifestation so that it would have been more dramatically present. So let us keep that in mind, because we are in a mystery. We are performing a mystery, and when we give it maybe a more complete reading, there is a mystery in us already, and that mystery that is in us responds to the externally manifest mystery on the altar. And so the mystery that is in our internal altar and the mystery that is on the church altar join. No wonder when they join, very strange and very miraculous things can happen, which are just the external sign that something important is going on. So I think those are some of the meanings that we can derive from today's gospel, and keeping it in mind, I think will keep us focused on the mystery and on the fact that we are all involved in the mystery. The mystery is taken inside of us, which reminds us, oh yeah, it's here, it's inside, you know. This has reinforced it. His mystical brother has just entered our body, but there is one within us already. And that is why some of these wonderful hymns to the Eucharist, you know, adoro te devote, I adore thee with devotion, thou hidden deity, latens deitas. Why is it hidden? Because he's hidden in the bread, he's hidden in the wine. But he will not remain hidden if you adore it with devotion and if you see to its work and its manifestation. So that is just a little sideline in the teachings concerning the mystery, and maybe it will stimulate us in certain ways for remembering, remembering who we are and remembering who is coming to us. So may the mystery of that which hangs between heaven and earth descend upon us and remain with us all.